All right. Boker Tov, everyone. We're 1 week away from Hanukkah. Lots of excitement. Baruch Hashem. We're going to have great miracles this month. Just watch. You just watch and daven. We're going to have big miracles. Okay, we're continuing we'll see. Listen to the Erev Shabbos Drush, which will come out in a couple hours. Amir Hashem. You'll hear about all the miracles that could happen. All right, we're on page Pei Gimel in the Nesivos Shalom. The Nesivos Shalom gave us two very important, prefaces in terms of achieving success in Midos development. Number one, we have to know the value of the Midos. If you understand how important it is, then you're going to work hard. And number two, the main job is to work at it. Success is not up to us. We have to just put all the effort we can put in. And that's what Hashem is more interested in than anything else. It's the effort he wants, and it's not necessarily the results. Of course, we like results. And then he talks about rooting out the bad midah from the roots. In other words, it's not enough to not do averos, but the averos are based on bad midos. And a lot of times your bad midah may not be exacerbated enough to pronounce itself, but it's still there and you have to root it out. So now we're beginning now. Here's where the cursor is, Gimel, left-hand side. The background of Midos, how your Midos develop the way they are, there's three distinctly different sources. It's good to know. Person, let's say, has a weakness in a midah. Let's say it's anger. Okay, let's say it's laziness. There could be three potential sources for it. Number one, Aleph, mitzat chunas nafsho. Number one, it could be your innate nature. Shi al pi rov min advarim ator shasesim. These are mostly, those are the primary things that to cause your midos. Because Hashem has ingrained in each and every one of us a certain temperament in certain areas. So there's really not a lot you can do once you're born with it. Beis, hergelim, the things that you, habits you develop. Shalpi haklal b'sefer hachinuch, based on the rule that the Sefer Chinuch tells us, hahergel nasa teva, habit becomes nature. And over time, that becomes your nature. In other words, you may not have been born lazy, but you start getting into the habit of being lazy. So then that's how you become lazy, right? That's why this corona, we have to be very careful. It is subtly getting us into habits. We don't realize it because there's so many other things that are, pushing us in a certain direction. And I'm not saying we would normally have chosen these habits, but we got to realize some of these habits are not positive. So we've got to realize certainly children are going to be very severely affected. If you have a child has a habit not to go to school for a year, how's he going to want to go back to school? So those are difficult things. So habit is a second source. 3, Gimel, koach hasviva veira, the power of the environment, the people you're around. The nature of a person follows after his friends and comrades, as the Rambam says in Hilchos Deis. So it's 3 different sources. You could have a kid, you're raising up a wonderful kid, he falls into a bad chevra of friends. Or a good chevra of friends. Goes both ways. Okay? So we got to be, so those are the 3. Now, why is that so important? You're going to say, well, at the end of the day, he has a temper. At the end of the day, he's lazy. At the end of the day, he's cheap. No. But a person wants to purify himself from a poor midah. You have to reflect and figure what's the source of this midah? Is it something I was born with? Is it something I've developed a habit for? Or is it part of the chevra? Because that knowledge will help him to understand how to fight the battle. Because it's not the same methods you're going to use. It cannot compare uprooting midos that come from the environment that you're in, or things that you got used to, habits. You can't compare the uprooting of that. It's a lot easier to uproot those sources than to uproot a natural, innate habit that he was, as it were, hewn from that stone from many generations. Sheshrosham amok amok. The roots are very, very deep. It needs a lot of effort and self-sacrifice to uproot them. I'm just thinking out loud as we're looking at this. Hashem told him, Lech lecha me'artzecha u'mimolatcha u'mibeis avicha. So those are 3 places he has to leave. So you could say, perhaps that's, that's all what it's part of. Those 3 aspects. Hashem is telling him, you could guess which ones are which. Mibeis avicha. That could be something. Mibeis avicha, that's genetic. That's from your parents. You get this from your parents. There's spiritual genetics. Mibeis avicha. Terach was an idol worshiper. All kinds of things. So you know what? Sometimes you just got to totally, and that meant he had to go away for many, many years till that family influence, the innate part of him changes. Then, me'artzecha, the land, right? That's could be the environment, right? Or maybe you can change it. Umimolatcha, it could be maybe better. Maybe let's say better. Umimolatcha, your birthplace. Between the 3, I'd have to work it out. But I think you could make an argument for all 3 ideas that, habits could be molatchas, your habits too. I mean, there's different ways. You could say that too. The habits are mimolatcha, where you're born. You're born and you develop certain habits from your birthplace. Right? So you got to get out of all those. So like some are, and that's why, it could, I think it fits in very nicely, because if you say Mibeis avicha, the house of your father, those are the natural ones. That's the last one. That's going to be the hardest one to get rid of. Get out of the land. From your birthplace. That's the environment. That's the habits. That's easier. You know how you do that? Just leave. You'll leave the habits. You'll leave the environment. Then you got to uproot the midos. That could very well be what the 10 tests were all about. As we talked about that, right? The 10 tests. So that it's not the same. So if you can pinpoint, you know what it is, ever since he was with this chevra of kids, ever since we bought him a cell phone, I've had stories of parents that children are so addicted to their cell phones. And there was a parent who took the cell phone away from the kid, and the kid turned into a monster. You talk about a young kid, starts kicking the parent, punching the parent. A child felt like you took his life away. So guess what? You just got to get them out of that habit. You got to get them out of that habit. If they will not have it, it will change their lives totally. People are making big mistakes. They're so, again, ostensibly people say they have to have cell phones. Have to have cell phones because for safety. the biggest narishkeit in the world. I grew up without a cell phone. And I grew up in a neighborhood that wasn't that great. I'm here. I'm alive.
Without a cell phone still.
And I still don't have a cell phone. Okay? So, and people don't realize it does tremendous damage to people. Tremendous damage, subtle damage. Yeah, Sammy has his hands up so politely.
Rabbi, there are a lot of young kids who have cell phones and they're quite normal and they use it well, no problem. So that's not the problem.
You know what, Sammy? They're not normal. They're not normal. The whole society has shifted what normal is. We think it's normal. It's not normal. Almost every child, when they're with their friends and get together, they have to have the cell phone. They're texting while they're talking to their friends. That's not normal. If you're going to tell me that's normal, in school, they've got to text while they're in school. This is not normal. Just because everybody does it does not make it normal. Okay? We're talking, using it, where they can have such control over it, where they only take it when they absolutely need it. And other times you don't find that. You don't find this. It is taking their emunah away from Hashem. This is the new normal. We don't believe in Hashem anymore. I have to make sure that I am protected 100% because I can't rely on Hashem to take care of me. What would happen if I drive downtown? I had Menachem. It was about, 3 years ago. I think it was Menachem. Just got his license. Maybe it was Moshe, I can't remember. He had to go somewhere, downtown. What happened? The tire, flat tire. No cell phone. Oy, he probably, you think he's going to get attacked, killed, murdered. This was downtown. So what did he do? He asked somebody, can I borrow your cell phone? They called me from the cell phone at my home phone and he reached me. All these people with cell phones, I can never reach them. You see, it's a stira mineu bay. We have to have a cell phone so we can be reached. How come I can never reach people who have cell phones?
Rabbi, you know what the real irony is?
Go ahead.
Yeah, you know what the real irony is? That all these children with these cell phones, the only thing they don't use that cell phone for is making a phone call. Everything else, but making a phone call. It's totally ironic.
That's right. They don't tell their parents where they are. Anyway, so what happened? He calls me. I say, you sit tight. From my house, from my landline, I will call CAA. And CAA will come. And then I called my son-in-law, Shimshi, and I said, you're in the neighborhood there, maybe drive over and give Menachem a little support. And guess what? Within an hour and a half, he was home. Whoa, without a cell phone. Now, what is Menachem learning that all the normal kids aren't learning? That Hashem takes care of you. You know why there's cell phones? So Goyim should have the cell phones. And if a Jew's in trouble, he'll give the Goyim merit to help him out. Remember, if we didn't have cell phones, we would still have pay phones. And we wouldn't have to worry about it. But now there's so many cell phones, we don't have pay phones. Except for some reason in the promenade, there's one cell phone by the Life Labs. A pay phone by the Life Labs. I don't know. Maybe it's just a monument. I don't know if it really works. I never tried it. But anyway, so it's not normal. And this habits, and you don't even realize it. Normal children are insensitive to their surroundings. Normal children don't not have relationships with their friends. This is the normal now. Normal children commit suicide. That's the normal. Now, if you would just get rid of certain things, life will be different. The environment, it's not normal either. So these are the things you got to realize. So certain things are much easier. Change the environment. Break the habit. A habit is one thing, but something that's in your nature, now that's a whole different. Mamish needs tremendous. The first two do not need such Mesiras Nefesh. It does not need, but what's inside you, Hashem implanted in you, to pull that out. Now that takes a lot of Mesiras Nefesh. Yes, question.
Habit and the other one is what?
Habit and environment. Your friends. Those are the two, we'll call it externally driven.
Okay.
But what's part of your nature? Now, there's children with natures. And there's some children who have, what do you call it? Mean streak natures. Hashem created them that way. It's just the way it is. What do you want? Hashem did that. We're not blaming anybody, but that's going to be much harder. Need a lot of Mesiras Nefesh. Well, no, truly. But even if they have ingrained from generations this midah, lo yachshav, a person should not lose hope and think, how am I going to succeed in purifying myself? And to uproot, how am I going to do that? Don't think that way. Kamochein, similarly, this is for some of us. Mishakvar Hiskin, Beher Galav, you get a little bit older with all your habits. Listen, this is my habit. I just don't do this. My habit is I always criticize. That's the way I am. As soon as I see something, I look at it critically. Bal Yachshav, you shouldn't think, you shouldn't think, how am I going to change my nature? Because as we said, the answer is clear. It's not your job to finish it. Your main job is to make supreme efforts. With all your efforts, that's all God is asking from you. It's not a concept of reaching and winning. She'elu matas Elokim, because these are gifts from Hashem. Wow. It fits right into this week's Parsha. I was going to say it sometime on Shabbos, so you may hear it twice, but you'll at least hear it one time. Yaakov gets a name change. His name change is Yisrael. Now, if you look carefully at the pasuk, the angel says, "Why am I going to change your name?" Kisarisa, you battled against angels and men, Vatuchal, and you were successful. So let's look at all the words in the pasuk. If I would ask you what the name Yaakov should change to from the wording in the pasuk, I'll say it again. Ki Sarisa, that's from Sar. You battled, you strove with angels and men. Fatuchal, and you won. What name would you give that person?
A hero, champion, something like that.
No, what would be the Hebrew name?
Oh, Hebrew
now,
name.
Yisrael comes from the word Sarisa. Sarisa, Sar, Yisrael. Right? So what name should you give him? He should have been called Tuchal. Tuchal means, and you won. Isn't that what it's all about? You were victorious. Vatuchal. Your name is no longer Yaakov, it's Tuchal. Why did he give him the name Yisrael? Because the answer is it's not about winning. It's not about succeeding. It's about striving. Sarisa, to strive against all odds, to try to fight an angel. That's what it's about. It's about fighting. Winning, sometimes you'll be lucky. Hashem will help you. Sometimes you won't. But B'nai Yisrael means we're people who are always striving. We're always fighting the good fight. Victory is not in our hands. So a person's much older. And they say, listen, you should be learning more Torah. He says, I'm an ignorant person. I haven't learned my whole life. Even if I'm going to learn, I'm never going to learn the whole Torah. That's not your problem. Your problem is to fight the fight. That's it. Spend as much time as you can doing the things that Hashem wants you to do. That's all. I've got this bad midah. I haven't changed it for 75 years. You think I could change it now? Try. Listen, I yell and scream all the time. Good. Maybe you can yell and scream now half the time. Half the time. Isn't that better than the whole time? So that's the point. And the Yetzer Hara fools you. And so, I was doing Daf Yomi. Now with Daf Yomi, it's a catch-22. Daf Yomi every day you gotta learn a daf. Sometimes the daf is easy. Sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes your day is a better day that you have the time to do it. Sometimes not. A Friday is a very hard Daf Yomi day if you need the assistance of hearing a class online, right? So that makes it hard. Now what happens? Invariably, almost everybody, you fall behind. Then you want to give up, right? So again, like we started Daf Yomi, we all did amazing. We all got out of the gate. We did brachot. We're starting to get into Shabbat, and then comes the Corona. Okay,
Gave you more time.
What?
I gave you much more time.
It depends for who. The people who got paid by the government to not work had more time. Okay, but others who have to work 3 times as hard to make half as much money had less time. So again, I kept just saying, all of a sudden, if I was not going to learn how to do Zoom fast, and if I was not going to learn how to do all the other technological things fast, then would be nothing left of the shul. And all the other things I do. So guess what? And I was struggling. I was trying to get with Shabbos. I said, it ain't going to happen. It's either going to be Shabbos or the shul. So Shabbos lost. Then I bought another set for Erevin. Maybe I can do Erevin. Erevin lost. Okay, this time I bought Psachim. Okay, thank God we're on Daf Yud Aleph. In other words, I'm not going to say, well, since I'm not going to finish the whole thing, I might as well give up.
You're in one page.
Okay, listen, I'll do everything minus 2 Masechtas. Or maybe some.
You can catch up after the cycle.
Am I going to finish Psachim? I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen? But that's what you have to do. You can't say, well, now that I didn't do this, let's forget the whole thing. We just can't do that. We have to try our best. That's all. Continuing. And the truth is, overall, the Midos, there's a lot of them. You want to just put the first 2 lights on for him? The first two you see are the ones you can give him. So even though there's a lot of Midos, Binyanim Hanogim Beinadim L'Chaver, this Midos that manifests between man and God, just give it a hard tap. The first 2, Chanoch, give it a hard tap. And the other one. No. The first 2, not the last 2. The first 2 that you see, give it a hard tap. The right side, the worst ones, you're closer to the right than to the left. That's it. Now you got it. He's got enough light now. Baruch Hashem. Okay. Anyway, let's come back. That's because you were coming from that side. That's why I said the first 2 that you're coming. I didn't say the last two. Anyways, it's either between you and God, between you and your friend, between you and yourself. You think certain midos have no connection to other midos. My temper has nothing to do with my laziness. My being too lazy to get up for shul has nothing to do with how I interact with people. And my yelling at people has nothing to do with my avodas Hashem. That's not true. But the truth is, they're all rooted in one thing. They're all rooted in one thing. Based on what the Chavos Avos that we recalled already. Shekol Midos, all we are saying, it's like a string of pearls, a necklace. If one falls out, yiplu kul, they all fall out. Is that true? There's a reason why they created necklaces. So next time your wife breaks a necklace and one falls out and the whole thing comes falling out, you say, see, Hashem wants us to know. No, you be smart, guys. Don't tell your wife. Hashem wants you to know if you mess up one midah. You say, you know, I broke. Hashem wants me to know that if I mess up on one midah, all of them fall apart. That's how you have to say it. Be careful, guys. Unless you want to have a frying pan over your head, okay? And if you have a situation where there's a test and a failure in one midah, then you're likely that all the other value of midas will descend, will lower. A person will go back to being almost unclothed from corrected midos. Therefore, a person has to dedicate a lot of thought and effort Therefore, it has to dig deep and penetrate in a consistent way and in a cunning way to reach perfection of midos. Below lahazniach shum midah. You cannot leave any midas behind. You got to get them all. What's Mem, Lamed, Hey, Dalet stand for? Moshal lema hadavar domeh. What can this be compared to? Lechazis, to a battlefront. Let's see which way we take this now. Yeah, perfect. Lechazis milchama. Let's move this over a touch. To a battlefront. Maspik sheyesh makom echad. Now to lose, let's say you're fighting on 5-6 fronts. Okay? Now, how many fronts you got to lose the battle?
One.
Maspik sheyesh makom echad shlo samo elav lev. You only need one area where you didn't pay attention to. Fubiltim avutzar, and that's not well protected. Shoyev yuchal lifrotz misham pnima. That's where the enemy can enter, break through inside from the one weakness. It doesn't help you that every other area is protected. Right? When there's a city with a wall, the battering ram just has to go through the gate. That's it. Everything else can be protected. Doesn't matter. How about a car? A really expensive car. I mean, like top of the line. If one screw is missing, it ain't going to work at all. If you got your car, turn it on, nothing. You don't even hear it turn over, nothing. And then sometimes all this is a $10 piece. A lot of times it's $3,000, but sometimes it's a $10 piece. Okay. So therefore, you got to be careful. If you let the Yetzer Hara, he's your enemy. He's surrounding. He's looking, just like in battle when you send out spies. Where's the weakness? He's looking, where is this guy's weakness? Oh, this guy's weakness is his temper. His frumkeit is amazing. He's so particular in mitzvah observance. It's unbelievable. He does chesed to my people. But when he feels disrespected, watch out. And the Yetzer Hara sends all the troops through that opening, And then what does it do? It destroys everything else. It destroys the chesed. It destroys the frumkeit. The whole thing goes down. Okay. And based on this, Yesh Safarish Od Hesper Batam Mashal Nemer Batari Nyanim B'Yisros. Now again, we can explain. Oh, did I skip something? Oh, what am I doing? I went to the wrong side. Man, I'm over here. I don't know. I gotta keep my eye on the ball. Sorry. Uchvar Kosav Rambam. The Rambam writes in Hilchos Deis, Shechole Anefashos, soulful sicknesses of the soul. Domim l'chole aguf. They're like physical sicknesses. In kain kamo b'chole aguf. Just like you have physical sicknesses. Yesh anosim asovlim imach l'shonos. They suffer from various sicknesses. But the doctors can't find the root of the sickness. A good doctor will find the root of the problem, and they'll know why all the evil is there. And sometimes it's an area where other doctors weren't even paying attention. Who I didn't be Midos, same good Midos. So in Nebech, you have cases, people. I had an aunt many years ago. She should live in Gan Eden. She was complaining about her eyes. She couldn't see so well, this and that. She went to so many doctors, going to change her prescription. You don't have the right prescription. And that this and that, and then some drops, maybe you got to dry the eyes. Then she went to a top, I remember the doctor's name till today, and she went to a top ophthalmologist. And he looked and he said, you go to the hospital immediately. I see something in the back of your eye that I don't like. So what did she have? She had a tumor growing in her head. And it got to the point where it was really getting bad. And okay, they had to deal with it, but it was already too late to do it. It grown to such a point. Anyway, Nebuch. So anyway, that was the real doctor got to the court. So it had nothing to do with the eyes per se. It was somewhere else in the head that was affecting the eyes. But you got to know that's the way it goes. A lot of times, you have certain things, it's an imbalance. Don't want to talk about these things. Person says I'm gonna get a little tired. I'm starting to drop things, whatever, You find out the real expert knows he has nebuch, he has ALS or something like that. It's a lot of things, because it's one part affects the whole body. So we got to know it's the same thing with Midos. So just like, Baruch Hashem, I'm almost finished with my annual physical that was supposed to be last February. But anyway, Baruch Hashem, I have a great doctor. So, 2 phone visits, and all the follow-ups till your the blood works and all that. I'm almost done with the February. They already booked me for another one, for next July, But by the time I'm going to finish everything, I'm almost done. Mir Hashem, another week, 10 days, I'll be all done, finally. And if you look at all the things they're looking out for, your blood sugar, your heart, your liver, your kidneys, your this, it's lang vida gulis, all the things that they're looking at, and this and that. And I have a good doctor. Every little thing, if it's even a little bit not the normal, he double check and this and that. But that's what it's about. So now just remember, if they're checking so many things for your body, how many times, what are you checking for your soul? And let's say the doctor finds one thing wrong. He says, there's one thing, it could spell a lot of trouble. There's like, you go to your life labs, you could check the results yourself. I don't understand what half of those things are saying, but there's like a lot of numbers there. It's like, I don't know, like 30, 40 different numbers. I guess the older you get, the more numbers you're going to be looking at. And you got to look at these numbers and this number and that, and then and one of them isn't good. So some of them, it's not a big deal, but other ones, whoa, got to take a look at that. So when was the last time we got a physical exam on our Midos? Wouldn't it be so good? They just take a syringe, plop out a little blood. Now, if you went to the Arizal, he would do that.
Just
That
look-
Rizal would listen to your pulse and he'd be able to tell you all your spiritual problems. Okay, but anyway, because as long you don't reach perfection in Midos, there's one minute you don't pay attention to. That is a root that's evil inside of you. And you cannot purify yourself. Until you remove from yourself every spiritual rotting. So that's what we learned from our annual medical exam. We have to look and see. Now, I know it seems like a big job. The answer is, it is a big job. Who says that? That's why God gives you a long life to deal with all those things. Hashem should help us that we should be able to succeed, at least taking off a little bit of the Midos, to fix it a little bit and not be seduced that it's too late for us to change that. Okay, shkoyach everybody.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Rabbi.
An amazing Erev Shabbos.